Hi folks, Eagle Spitz here on Desert Island Vids, Punk for Homeless, and it's been a great day ahead of us, no doubt, and we've got some great acts lined up later on in the day's show. At 9 p.m, we'll be having Joe Solo doing a set. We've actually got him with us now, so hello Joe.
Evening, how are you doing?
Yeah, not bad at all. How are you?
Oh yeah, bearing up, muddling through, you know how it goes.
Yeah, it's all about muddling through at the moment, isn't it, unfortunately. Can't really make plans. So, Joe Solo, who is Joe Solo? A lot of people have heard your stuff and that, but it's a lot more than that with what you do, isn't it?
Well, I just try and do Woody's work, basically. I try and sing songs about working class history, working class experience, and try to join the dots between the stories of the past and the stories of the present, because there's always links, because everything goes on in cycles, and what happened to our predecessors happens to us, and it'll continue happening to us until we do something about it. And so I think part of what I do is try and highlight just how inextricably linked we all are to one another as working class people, both emotionally, physically, sociologically, historically. And the other thing I do is I try and fundraise and raise awareness for various causes, because I think that if you want to call yourself a socialist, then it doesn't start with books, it starts with people. And so I try and make sure nobody goes without. So I use my music to fundraise for various causes: food banks, soup kitchens, refugee support, homeless outreach. Wherever people are slipping through the cracks, I try and make my music count. So I'm as much an activist with a guitar as I am a political songwriter, really, these days.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's why it has to be, isn't it? You know, we can't sing or rant about stuff unless we're involved.
Yeah, I think the time's gone for you know, leaning on other people, leaning on political institutions. I think we need to roll our sleeves up and get out there. You know, like you do with Punk for the Homeless, like we try to do with We Shall Overcome. I'm trying to inspire people within the trade union movement to do that and say, look, you don't belong in conference halls and posh hotels and that, having these meetings like the Labour Party does. You belong out in our communities, demonstrating your politics, showing people what it's all about. Otherwise, we're as guilty of abandoning our communities as the Labour Party is. And when we abandon them, the fascists move in, and that's been shown time and time again. They're far better at putting an arm around the shoulder of the dispossessed than seemingly the very people who are meant to stand up for those communities are. And that time's gone. We need to be out on the street, sleeves rolled up, helping people, and that's my spiel.
Well said, mate. So I think there's a natural break there. So would you like to introduce your first song?
I reckon my first song has probably got to be the best song by the best band. This is White Man in Hammersmith, Palais by The Clash.
Most a lot of Clash fans I've met. I mean, I'm a massive Clash fan. And a lot of us have stories of meeting them. Have you got those stories about Clash? I know you've got one story linked to the Clash on one of your songs about you getting up to some mischief.
Sadly, I'm 51 next month, and so I missed the Clash. I got into them about a year before Cut the Crap came out, so I was at the very dregs at the end. You know,
I love that album.
It has its moments. The production job is awful, but it's not the wasteland that people make out. I still think This Is England's a great song.
I think Dictator's a great song, I think, and lots of stuff on. I'm a massive Clash fan. I mean, I collect all the bootlegs and that kind of stuff as well. But I do listen. I do listen to Cut the Crap, and yeah, I think it's great. I mean, but then again, I'd seen the Clash in '78, but I've seen the Clash in 2000. Sorry, not 2000. In '84 twice. I think it's probably why I'd love that album, because you've got to hear the songs live and stuff as well.
Yeah. I think that probably makes a difference, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, I saw Strummer and the Latino Rockabilly War on the Class War tour a couple of years after the band split. I saw Big Audio Dynamite, but and I saw Strummer and the Mescaleros a couple of years before he died. But I don't have a hands-on Clash story, Eagle. I wasn't there, sadly.
Well, at least you're younger than I am. So,
yeah, you know, 2 or 3 years older, and I'd have caught all that. I'd have caught the start of hardcore, I'd have caught the Clash, I'd have caught two-tone, but I was just annoyingly too young, just by 2 or 3 years, and I missed out on it all. But
yeah, I feel very fortunate I was born at that time. You know, it's 14.
I think I'd probably swap a couple of years to have seen all that.
Trouble is, mine's made me look 20 years older than I am, I think, now, because, you know, the punk stuff didn't help that in the early days. So, tell us a little bit about We Shall Overcome, mate, because, you know, tell us, I mean, I don't know much about when you started and stuff, and I know I think I put my first gig on for you about 6 years ago, or us.
So you've been pretty close to the start. We started 8th of May 2015. That was the day after the general election of 2015, when it became clear with a Tory majority that the austerity that we'd been witnessing under the coalition was just going to get ramped up. We knew it was coming, so we wanted to start some kind of artistic response to that, a positive response, rather than just stamping our foot and shouting about it, actually saying, well, look, basically what I ranted about before. Look, people are going to need our help. It's not enough to stand there shouting and waiting for an election to come round in another 5 years, as it happened. They come round with alarming regularity. This is, but it wasn't going to be enough to just stand by and shout. And I think this is why I get frustrated with a lot of people who still do that, you know, because you do that and people get left behind. And as we started We Shall Overcome, it was basically trying to turn gigs into food bank collections, and rather than say, right, you turn up and you give some money and we donate the money, and it just been kind of like a charity thing. It was a case of, right, what's needed in this town? Right, the homeless outreach needs sleeping bags. Everybody come to a gig with a sleeping bag. The independent food bank's got empty shelves. Everybody come with a bag full of groceries. And what we tried to do was make each gig an individual thing that tailored specifically to the grassroots needs in that town. And the idea took off, as you know. We've run something like, I think it's well over now, but our last count was about 1,100 events up and down the UK. And we've raised well over £500,000 worth of help, you know, whether that's food or cash or clothing or bedding or furniture, whatever's been needed, we've raised it, and its equivalent value is a lot of money, you know. But it's not about that clocking up the totals like Children in Need. It's about targeted help for people, you know, who need it and when they need it, and rather than this sort of like idea of charity, it's solidarity with people. It's not we give people something to somehow assuage our guilt because we're the rest of the time we're happy little capitalists. It's literally solidarity with people who are falling through the cracks and sharing what we've got to fill in those gaps. And it's been really successful. What we wanted to create was a banner for everybody to march under. There's always hundreds, as you know, like particularly in the punk scene. You know, you only have to say the word, well, you only have to whisper the word all day, and a lot of punks will turn up and get pissed, and I mean, that's brilliant. I love that, and they'll run, and I've always have run all dayers for squats and for homeless, and for, you know, they're brilliant. And all We Shall Overcome did was really give everybody a banner to march under and say, look, there are thousands of these things, and they have political power. They have weight if you pull them in together and say there's 1,000 of these, not just one happening here and one happening there. it's the numbers, like anything. It's the numbers that change people's minds, and it's the numbers that carry the political weight that will ultimately change things. So 10 people saying that we've raised like 250 quid at this benefit gig's changing nothing. But when 10,000 people have raised £500,000 all of a sudden it means something. Do you know what I mean? There's political power to it as well as people power.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we've done our best to muddle through this year. We've been quite innovative in ways that I kind of knew people would be, from all sorts of things, online curry sessions, cookery classes, spoken word, obvious live streams, added a washing machine workshop and a songwriting workshop, just anything that we could do that we could stick a GoFundMe on and make a bit of money, And it's been brilliant. It's been brilliant. It's been really good fun.
No, it's been a real honour to be part of it. Well, solidarity.
It's good to have you along, Eagle, because without you, it's not the same. It's like uniting all these various causes is the one beautiful thing about it. It hopefully amplifies all of us.
Yeah, totally. Right, your first song was the Clash doing a reggae inspired song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your second one's the same. Would you like to introduce it and tell us why? Because I remember reading. I remember listening to one of your songs ages ago about your experience of putting a needle onto a Stiff Little Fingers record. So it was something really meaningful to me.
It wasn't the Clash I came into after Stiff Little Fingers. I was about 13 years old, and we're in one of my mates' bedrooms after school, and he'd got a load of albums down from his big brother's room, and we were playing all sorts of stuff. We were playing The Beat and Secret Affair and all kinds of things. I remember the pile of records he had next to this old dance set, and he picked up the needle and he dropped it down on Go For It, and there's that crackle that I always love at the start of a record when you've got quite an old record player.
Yeah.
That crackle and a little bit of hiss, and then those chords and bang, And I don't think I've ever been the same again since, Roots, Radicals, Rockers and Reggae by Stiff Little Fingers belting out. And if you still wanted, if you tried to distill my sort of like worldview down from all the things it's expanded into being through the books and the people that I've met and the music that's inspired me and the meetings that I've ended up at and the sort of like the commemorations that I've attended and things like that. If you try to distill it all back, it would still come back to Roots, Radicals, Rockers and Reggae by Stiff Little Fingers. It meant that much to us at the time, and I still think it's a great song, and that's why it's here, because it was the first one that electrified me in that way that music does when it finally hits you and gets you. Anybody that's into music has had that moment with some record, and mine was that one.
And it's a superb album. I used to love going to see Stiff Little Fingers when I was a teenager and stuff, and then when it must have been last time I said, it must have been about 15 years ago. But they were fucking brilliant. I expected them to be a bunch of tired old guys, but they were just on it.
I missed them the first time, but I was at the very first Reform show, Newcastle Mayfair, 14th of December 1987. I've got tickets, and me and my mate Tony ploughed up there. There was £7.50 a ticket. But we went up to Newcastle, and it was just brilliant. Obviously they weren't. In hindsight, they weren't the band they were the first time round. They were 5 years older, and that sort of like initial punk rock energy had gone. But it was just so monumental to be in that room, it was like they were like gods to me, I steadfastly refused to understand what Nobody's Heroes was all about, and so them poor guys on the stage like, whoa, it was just immense. And seen them a few times since we opened for them actually in Scunthorpe in about 1997, 1998. And I never got to meet them because they were backstage, but it was kind of like came a full circle. It was just really special, and nah, no matter what they do, I'll always think of Stiff Little Fingers as being the band that did it for me, you know.
Brilliant. Yeah, you say you supported them.
Yeah. Bath Saul in Scunthorpe. I think it's probably 98. I think it's probably 98. But yeah, we opened for them. Then I don't think it was part of a tour. I think it was a one-off thing that had been organised. But we've been doing loads of gigs in this community pub called the Lincoln Imp. And
is this what's the band called yours at the time? Lithium Joe,
Joe.
Was this? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. We well, I don't think it meant quite the same to the other guys in the band, but to me it was like, whoa, I'm opening for Stiff Little Fingers. This is mad, you know. But no, that was quite something, you know. Those moments, Steve, they're pretty rare, you know, and when you know that your life kind of interlocks and your past meets your present, and there's this like a big collision, and it's not always possible to comprehend that in the moment. It's just it's kind of afterwards when it crystallizes just what that meant, and but it's a beautiful thing, and I loved that, and I still think they're a great band. I haven't seen them in years. Probably that was the last time I saw them. But I'd seen them a bit since they reformed. We went to Leeds, we went to Brixton Academy. Yeah, top band.
Brilliant. Tell us a little bit about your own music then, Joe. So you mentioned Lithium Joe, and obviously we know you as Joe Solo, the troubadour.
You had to find some way to describe it. No, well, I reckon. Well, I first started with live music in 1987, and we just bashed out punk covers, you know, Stiff Little Fingers, Undertones, Clash, at school, and that kind of like morphed into me writing material for it in late 87, early 88. And, you know, it'd been a school band, everybody went their separate ways afterwards. And I didn't have a band then for 3 years. I hitched around a lot, busking. And so I travelled all over playing acoustic songs on street corners, you know. And it was quite a repertoire of punk and folk punk and stuff, and I loved that too. But I settled back in Hull in the middle of '91, thinking, right, I want to form a band. I want this band to be what I do, and so put Lithium Joe together in September 1991, and we went on for 10 years. We did the usual thing for bands in that time, you know, steadfastly out of fashion. Never seemed to click with any of the scenes that made it big, and just did our own thing for years, self-releasing, touring, and like all the things, it came to an end.
You had a reunion gig last year, didn't you?
We did. We came back together for my 50th and sold out the Adelphi and all, which was brilliant, and we raised quite a lot of money. We did a gig at Pauling's in Ashton, and that raised a few quid the night before. And then we sold out the Adelphi and raised about 800, 900 quid for Hull Help for Refugees. And that was brilliant. We didn't want to come back and be rubbish, so we'd spent quite a bit of time in the rehearsal room making sure we were in the same keys, that we were as fast and that we were as lively. And so I had to do loads of fitness training because I've been sat on a chair with a maraca in my shoe for 15, 16 years, you know. So I really had to be on it. So it was great fun, and it was a great couple of nights. And we recorded a single which we still haven't fully mixed yet because the momentum kind of went out of it with COVID. We were set to go back into rehearsals the weekend after lockdown was called, so we're still not managed to hook back up again. But I'm sure there'll be more shows. It was great fun doing that one.
Yeah, that's something I'd like to see.
It is good fun. Because it's just totally different to what I do, you know. And it's two totally different ways of writing, you know. Because with a punk song, it's the feel as much as anything. And we were always trying to cross. We decided quite early on from our record collections that the greatest two bands that ever been in terms of songwriting were the Clash and the Beatles, and we set about trying to cross the two of them. So sometimes we got it right, and sometimes it was just too poppy, and sometimes it was just too punk, and sometimes we got the balance, you know, exactly there. And because if you go too punk, you sound like a lot of other bands, and we didn't want to do that. It wasn't any disrespect to them or anything. It was just that there seemed to be a lot of those bands around, and there was no need for another one, you know. So we thought, how can we take this music and make it do something different? So it was it wasn't about sticking two fingers up at the scene or anything. It was just trying to do something different with the music, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to. I mean, it's like Activists. We've got our own album coming out, our debut album in a couple of weeks.
Excellent.
I think there's probably one song which sounds quite punk on the album, but the rest of it, you know, just write and do what you want.
Place, I think, you know, it's a state of mind, isn't it? It's a state of being. I mean, we were absolutely adamant we were going to be DIY, and but we said to each other, right, we're going to be DIY. We're going to make these records ourselves. We're not going to have anybody telling us how the music should sound. We want to be an independent band, but we want to be the best fucking independent band there's ever been. You know?
Yeah.
It was that, and it wasn't a kind of a lack of ambition. It was probably too much that tripped us up. We just wanted to be great, you know. And sometimes you that makes a band, and sometimes it just wears you out.
Yeah. But I mean, even with DIY, you know, I mean, it's about doing the best you can, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about taking the tools that you've got at your disposal and turning it into the best thing you can possibly make. You know, it's when I look back on records, I think, well, I can do a lot better now, and you know that you know I'm technically better, I'm musically better, my songwriting's stronger, but that was the best I could do in 2003 or 2007 or 2010. So you kind of got to stand by those records, because you with the mics and the equipment you had at your disposal and the songs that you had in your sort of like songbook, that was the best record you could make in that moment. And as long as you can always say that, I don't think you should be ashamed of anything.
Oh, totally, mate. But talking about songs, your next song is one which is on my turntable an exceptional amount of time. I absolutely love your last choice of songs. So would you like to introduce it, mate?
Yeah, this is Ghosts of Cable Street by The Men They Couldn't Have.
Brilliant. And if you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think Paul Simmons... sorry, go what you say.
No, just talk.
I think Paul Simmons, songwriter in chief over there. I know they all write, but I think Paul Simmons is one of the great English political songwriters. I think that he has a handle on what folk music is and what it should be, that a lot of people miss who would class themselves as traditional folk. He's got a great ear for narrative storytelling in songs, and he chooses stories from history that get forgotten. I always describe it as the stories that fall between the pages of the history books, you know, and which for me is proper working class history. We get taught kings and queens and generals and majors, and we're expected to start being proud of something that we've never been a part of. And what Paul does is remind us of our history, of the history of us as a people and as a class. And the Ghosts of Cable Street is a really important one, because without it, I don't think a generation of people would have known much about Cable Street. I think in the same way that Strummer writing Spanish bombs means that the international brigades, the memory of them is far stronger because of that one song and that one moment. I think the anti-fascist movement and the knowledge about what happened at Cable Street on the 4th of October 1936 is only in the circulation of us as as artists and as voices now, I think it's only in our heads because of that song, and that's what a truly great song does, isn't it? It brings history to life in a way that you think, you know, that's amazing. I didn't know that. Now I do know about it. I want to know more. And that's what it does. It teaches you through that. You want to know everything about that day. And from that, you learn that was just the culmination of an awful lot of anti-fascist activity throughout the 1930s. I think the first one that I'm aware of being commemorated was in 1933, so a full 3 years before, at the Battle of Stockton-on-Tees. And I know Corporation Fields in Hull. I know that there was battles in Leeds, in Southampton, in Liverpool. Whenever Moses turned up, the working class rose up and took him down, you know. And so Cable Street's remembered, you know, because it was in London, because it was massive, and because of that song. But we shouldn't forget that the working class organised against fascists in the 1930s, long before Hitler came along, because ideologically we rejected it. You know, just the same way that we reject it now. I get really angry about the sort of like the liberal voices in the Noel Cox shouting down anybody who says something vaguely out of line as being a fascist and a racist. You know, it's not the same thing. And the more that you accuse people of that, the more that you drive them away. You know, what we need now is people coming together. And there's a massive difference between somebody who says something out of hand, or somebody who votes a certain way, and a genuine fascist, racist Nazi. You know, if the working class in this country was full of fascist racists, then Tommy Robinson would be able to march to London with 1 million at his back. The fact that he struggles to get a couple of hundred shows you just how much we still reject his politics. And I think that's something remembered and celebrated, you know?
Oh, totally. Right, we're going to have to sign off very shortly. It's been amazing talking to you. I could chat all night. But
that would be fun.
Is there anything you'd like to leave us with, mate? You know, sort of people get hold of your music, get behind causes, or whatever you want to.
Well, you can find me online, joesolomusic.com. But I think what I'd really like to leave you with is that I alluded to it earlier, that sort of coming a full circle with Stiff Little Fingers. But that song, Ghost of Cable Street, I sang on stage with the Men They Couldn't Hang at Wigan Diggers Festival last September, in front of 1,000 people in the square. And that was just like a teenage dream coming true, you know? And I think just those moments are what life's all about, you know, that you find your people and you fight for them and you stick with your ideas and you keep going. And ultimately, those moments they come. And I think that's, in hopeless times, I think a little bit of hope goes a long way. So I'll leave you with that.
Thanks, man. We shall overcome.
It's all right.
Take care, man. Thanks.
You too.